Hi guys, today we have got Kimra Luna with me in the Connection Exchange. Really excited to have you. Hey Kimra.
Hi.
Very recognizable with that blue hair now. It's like your maybe your trademark or your color. You're gonna keep
So
it like
blue.
that?
It's very blue.
It looks good. It looks good. So Kimra, I've been following Kimra since last year when you got started, and we were in the same B school year together, and just watched you grow at an exponential rate. Just through, I think it was mainly your webinars, wasn't it? That you would just seem to be everywhere all at once.
Yes, it was primarily my webinars. Yes, I don't know, I kind of just decided like I just want to pick one thing and be really, really awesome at it. And that'll be the one way that I give lots of value to people. That'll be the way I grow my list. I really wanted to focus on one thing before I started expanding out to other
Yeah,
things. And I think it definitely worked in my benefit because now I'm really, really good at doing webinars and
you are the
I
queen.
and people know me as it.
Yeah.
They want to be on my webinars now because people they don't want to miss them. So yeah, I love webinars.
Yeah, and you're awesome at them. You're really, really great. And so, for anybody that kind of doesn't know your story, I know you've told it so many times, and I could even tell it for you. I know it that well. But could you just share a little bit about that, and also, I guess, what your business now is focused on?
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, my second son was born, and me and my husband at that point, the day he was born, neither of us had jobs, neither of us had any income stream coming in. We were on welfare, we were living at my in-laws' house, and we had actually lived in my in-laws' house for about 4 years at the time. So it was kind of like, when are we going to get out of this situation? Like we wanted to be able to provide for our children. We didn't want to have to rely on our family, which they were very generous and very giving and allowing us to spend our time there with them. But we wanted to be on our own. And 3 months after my second son was born, my one of my friends on Facebook had posted that there was all these jobs for men in North Dakota because there was a big oil boom there.
Okay.
So, I told my husband, I was like, I guess you're gonna go work on an oil rig or something. Like, there's jobs up there. Like, let's check it out. So we looked on Craigslist, and there was some job openings for a FedEx driver. So he got a job working for FedEx, which I was like, finally, like a steady job, something that can get us out of this. If he just works there and works his way up, then we won't have to be on welfare anymore. Like, it was like, praise the Lord, hallelujah moment.
Yeah.
And so he went to North Dakota. Me and my boys stayed in Virginia or in California with my in-laws.
Okay.
And my husband went to North Dakota for 6 months, which was very sad. We missed him very much. And after the 6 months, I told him, we want to get back together.
Yeah.
You're away for so long, and but I didn't want to move to North Dakota because, no offense to anybody who lives in North Dakota, it is very cold there, and I did not
Yeah.
want to live there. So I told my husband, is there anywhere else you get a FedEx job? And he found one in Virginia. So we flew across the country, like 4,000 miles away from all of our family and friends, and met with my husband there. And so we lived in Virginia. And it was great. My husband had a job. We had a roof over our head. We finally got a car. We hadn't even had a car. We literally were starting completely from scratch. And so it was great, but I didn't have any family and friends, so I did end up getting kind of bored.
Yeah.
I lived in this town with like 5,000 people or something, and here I am, like the weirdo with the crazy hair. So I wasn't really connecting with anybody there.
Yeah.
I made a few friends the whole time I was there, but after about 6 months, I told my husband I wanted to spend our tax money because when you do your taxes, you get some money back, right?
And then you
So I
plan where
told
you're going to spend it. Yeah.
and you plan where you're going to spend it. Yes, exactly. And I told my husband, well, I want to buy an iMac and I want to get, internet set up and I want to go online and do something. Like I'll be a food blogger. I'll do something. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
what I wanted to do, right? So he was like, okay, cool, let's do it, and he's like, I could play video games on it anyway, so it's a win-win for both of us, right? So we got the iMac, and about like 2 to 3 weeks later, I had found a network marketing company that had resonated with me. It sold all organic products and stuff. It was stuff that I believed in and, really connected with. So I joined that. And I did really well in the company. I was one of the top recruiters. But the company, like, they tended to not want me to teach a lot of things that I teach now, which is things like branding and building websites and those sorts of things, because they primarily teach prospecting, how to prospect to people. So I didn't really want to continue on that journey. So in March of 2014, last year, I decided to leave that company. I'd been there for about 13 months. I decided to leave the company. It was really sad. I had, a big team and stuff like that. So, it was a tough decision, but I knew it was the best.
Yeah.
And I joined B School, like you had said. I joined
Mm-hmm.
B School at that time. I had already had this big vision of what I wanted to do. And when I was in that network marketing company, I had learned I really loved teaching and training, because when you're in a network marketing company and you have people on your team, typically you train and teach
Yeah.
them, right? So it became something that I really loved and I discovered I was really good at it.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to train and teach people stuff, online marketing stuff. I had spent the whole time I was in that company literally obsessed with online marketing. I was on every single podcast, watching everybody's YouTube videos, watching every webinar,
Yeah.
everything I could get my hands on. I was just devouring the information because I just loved it. I don't know what it was. Something just fascinated it,
Yeah.
like I was just so fascinated by it. And so yeah, so in March I joined B School and I built my website. I got everything together. I
Yeah.
built my first, I built a course. Um, and then, like how you had said earlier, I started doing webinars.
Yeah.
And my only intention of doing webinars was to start building my list.
Yeah.
Because I had learned and heard from other people that it was a great way to grow your list pretty quickly. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And I'll try that out. And I was reading Social Media Examiner,
Yeah.
which if you don't follow Social Media Examiner, like anybody watching this should, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing articles, like everything social media, always up to date.
Yeah.
And I was reading they have like this review that comes out every year. And I was reading it, and it's like 40 pages long or something. It's like this big old long, like
Wow.
huge PDF of,
Yeah.
and they like survey everybody, and they calculate all these answers, and there's all these graphs and everything. Well, anyways, down very far towards the bottom, there's probably like the third page from the bottom. It had said that over 80% of online marketers wanted to learn how to make better graphics for their social media posts, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I am like the master of PicMonkey, so I'll do a webinar on that. So
Yeah.
that was the first webinar I did for my business to start growing my email list, was on PicMonkey.
Yeah.
And that people were just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I ended up having to do the webinar 3 times because
It's a
people
good
wanted
problem
it
to have.
so badly. They
Yeah.
wanted it. So I ended up doing 3 PicMonkey webinars
Yeah.
because people just loved it so much. And that was just the beginning. That was it. And I knew then and there I just really wanted to keep doing trainings. I just really wanted to help people. I saw how many people really got value out of
Yeah.
what I was teaching them, and it was just so great to be able to connect with so many people. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like I said, the speed at which it's grown has been quite amazing, and the community as well. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a bit, but yeah, it's been pretty epic.
Yeah, and like I did those webinars, and after that, of course, I started thinking of more topics to teach, and I didn't really have anything to pitch on these
Yeah.
webinars, but I did end up becoming a business coach because people started asking me, "Do you do coaching? Can you teach me this one-on-one?" Like all this stuff.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Yeah, sure. Like I'll put up a sales page and I'll do that tomorrow, I guess." Like I had
Yeah.
no plan on doing like business coaching of any sort when I started. I thought I was just going to sell, like digital courses, which is, of course, what I sell now. But I had no clue I was going to be a business coach. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know that was going to happen. But so many people were asking about it.
Yeah.
So I put up a sales page. I'd probably only had my website up for maybe a week. I had done my first Pick Monkey webinar. People kept asking me if I did coaching, if I would coach them on stuff. So I was like, all right, I guess I will. And so I threw up a little sales page and I was like, I'll do 12 weeks of, one-on-one calls with you for $2,000. And I was like, yeah, right, nobody's gonna buy this, right? Well, I sold three the first day.
That's
And
insane.
yeah, and I ended up, yes, I sold three the first day, so that was like $6,000. I was like, holy crap, like what's going on? And because I wasn't expecting it,
Yeah.
right? And then a few days, probably within like the next week, then I sold like two more. So I made $10,000 in like
Wow.
the very first few weeks of my
That's
business.
amazing.
And
And so,
that's
had you planned out what each week was going to be, or was it going to
no.
be whatever they needed
No,
help
it
with?
was whatever they needed me to teach them on. Like, because I
Okay.
was like, like someone had asked me, like, do you have a syllabus? I'm like, a syllabus? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like I was just like, just get on the phone with me. Whatever you want to learn, I'll start teaching it to you.
Yeah.
We got to get on a Google Hangout. We can screen share. Like,
Yeah.
I just was just like, I will just help you the best
That's
I can.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
There was no like platform or
Yeah.
like format or
Yeah.
anything. Like, I was
Where
just
you
like,
spent months
12
preparing and putting it together and
no, I didn't know. There was like no preparation for it at all. But people loved it. I mean, those
yeah.
people are still like they are like, "Oh my gosh, Kimra, I'm so glad I found you and when you first started." And that was how I learned what was needed in my signature program. Was working with them and all the questions that they were asking and all the things they
Yeah.
needed, that made it so easy for me to put my digital program together because I was like, okay, they're asking this question. Every single thing that they did, I would just write it down,
Yeah.
everything they asked, everything they wanted me to teach them, and then I put all that inside of my program.
That's amazing.
And so I had those clients throughout that time, and then in August, well, actually the end of July, I announced that I had Be True Brand
Yeah.
You, my signature program. And the videos and everything weren't even made yet. It wasn't even technically created. I had made a sales page for
Yeah.
it and I had an idea of all the
Yeah.
course content, but I'm a real big believer in doing things before you're ready, apparently. um, and so I had done some webinars, and the first webinar I did and that I was announcing it, I was like so nervous, but I told everyone, I was like, there's gonna be a big announcement, like you got to get on the webinar. And so I announced it and I was like, yeah, this is it's called Be True Brand You, these are all the courses that are going to be in this program, all this stuff. And I made like 5 sales on that first webinar. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are actually buying this. Like, like now I actually really have to put it together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And over the course of about a month, I did tons of webinars to prepare for it. I think I did 10 webinars total
Yeah.
to promote it. And I ended up making $62,000 in sales in my first launch.
Insane.
Yeah, I still think it's insane,
Yeah.
honestly, because I had only been in business for 3 months.
Yeah.
And these people were trusting me that much to give me their money.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like this is
Yeah.
insane. But it's been a really, really amazing journey because, like, my Be True Brand You program, I keep growing it and developing
Yeah.
it. And I'm really grateful for all those first people who have joined because they're like the pioneers of it. Like they're the ones that are helping me make it into an even better program. It's constantly growing and getting better. And I'm always bringing in guest trainers. And I have several guest trainers lined up who I'm literally paying to put their stuff, content into my program because I want them to have the best of the best. I really want my program to be, a one-stop shop program. And a lot of people, I mean, that kind of goes against like the marketing norm where, you got to pick a niche, pick your niche, only do one thing. And, like, I'm just like, screw that crap. I got so many ideas. I'm just going to put them all into one thing. One thing, and it's just gonna be amazing. Okay, like I don't care what it says.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Like I really didn't want to follow the rules when it came to stuff like that because some people will say like, oh, you should just only teach webinars. Because I'm good at webinars, right? So you should only teach webinars. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like I'm so good at all these other things too. Like I'm not just good at one thing. I'm good at a bunch of stuff. So for me, it was just like, I'm just going to put everything that's in my brain all into one program, teach every bit of knowledge that I have, and, make it into a package. And hopefully people will love it. And so far they have. Actually, this past week, because I am going to be launching again soon, I just interviewed several of the students, and they were telling me all of these huge stories and breakthroughs that were happening to them. And I was just like, I didn't even know all these things. Like, you guys need to send me some more messages or something. Like, like, wow. Like, I was really blown away by what they were saying about my program. And that makes me even more inspired to keep making it better and keep serving them more. And I really believe in being, a service-driven leader, a person who really just wants to assist people, which, is really big. And so I had my first launch, in August, and it was great. I mean, I was literally floored because I couldn't believe I made so much freaking money. It was crazy. And so I opened the doors again on the week of Black Friday, and I had a webinar planned on a Saturday to, be like, hey, the doors are going to be open for a week, type of thing. And I had a webinar planned, and the email that's supposed to go out for people to attend live, it didn't go out. So like 50 people or something showed up to this webinar, which is extremely low number for me, especially because I had like 1,000 people sign up. So it was a very low number for me. It was a complete flop, right? So I was just like, it's all right, maybe 4 or 5 people will sign up or something. It'll be okay. I wasn't stressing about it. Well, I ended up making $42,000. I was like, what the heck is going on? And people were just waiting to join my program. And I really believe, and I really know, because this is what I've heard from other experts who have, kind of been examining me for the past few months. They say it's because you give so much value up front without expecting anything in return. Most of my webinars, I don't even have a pitch on them. I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it, just to help people because I really want to help people. And they're like, that's why people flock to you, because you're always helping, you're always giving, you're just generous, generous, generous. And actually, when I was in the network marketing company back in 2013, when I was in that company, I had done a webinar for this guy. He had a really big email list, and I did a Pinterest training because I had gotten some really great results and traffic to my website with Pinterest, and I was, doing really good with that just on my little blog. I wasn't even making any money on the blog, right? I just had this little blog, and I wasn't even making any money on it, but I was getting great traffic to it. So he was like, well, I want to learn how to do this traffic. Let's do like a Google Hangout. Like you could teach people this stuff, and I'll email it out to my audience. Well, there was like 5,000 people on this webinar. Like, not even joking. And it was my first one I had ever done. So, of course, I was extremely nervous. I was like sweating bullets the whole time. And I did the presentation. And afterwards, people actually emailed me and told me that I was giving away too much information. And to me, that was just so bizarre because my brain doesn't work that way. I'm naturally just very giving. I'm very open, and I love sharing and helping. And it was very bizarre to me that there's people that had that mindset of like, you're sharing way too much on this webinar. I'm like, really? Really? Like, I could share the exact same thing inside of a course and people would buy it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sharing too much. Like, yeah, these people are going to get content for free, but so what? Like to me, it was just such a scarcity mentality, such a lack mentality. And I really believe in abundance. I believe there's not just like, somebody's taking my piece of my pie. Like, like I really believe there's so much abundance. And it was a very profound moment for me when there was people emailing me, because at the end of the presentation, I said, hey, email me and I'll do some like Pinterest consulting for you or something, like, because I didn't even have any services to offer, right? So, and some of them were emailing me telling me that I was offering too much to people and I gave away too much for free. And that is something that goes completely against like what I believe in. And I get people all the time who say like, how do you know if you're giving too much for free on a webinar? And I tell them, I was like, your webinar is only an hour long. The training section is only about a half an hour. Really, you have, your first 10 minutes where you're kind of talking, maybe you're showing some case studies, you're introducing yourself, and then you have a half an hour where you're training. I'm like, if all you really know, the knowledge in your brain is only a half an hour worth of content, you don't even have a course or a program, okay? Like you need a lot more value inside of your course than just a half an hour of content, And I was like, and plus the webinar isn't something they keep forever. You only offer that to them for that short amount of time. So the value they're getting is if they're really good at taking notes and taking screenshots and they actually apply the stuff. But a lot of people, they would rather have a course that they can go through step by step. They would rather have some extra support from you. So that's the value you're giving on top of what you're selling, And so because people ask me that all the time, I'm like, honestly, you can't really overgive on a webinar, because you only have an hour time frame. You should be able to have more content than what's going to be in that hour time frame.
For sure. And I mean, you're building trust as well during that process. And if they see how much you give then they'll know that if they're paying for something, they're going to get so much more anyway.
Exactly, exactly. And, it's really, yeah, to me, I'm just such a huge fan of value. I had made like a little graphic that said, like throw value around like confetti, like because I really believe that we just need to be sprinkling value here and there. And that is when people find us. They're like, wow, this person gave, they just gave. And so people want to follow you and join your email list and read your blog and watch your YouTube videos.
And I saw your post, was it this morning, that you had like 4,600 in the Freedom Hackers group now, or is it?
Yeah, I just reached 4,600 in my Freedom Hackers Mastermind group, which that group has grown extremely fast. In my webinars, I usually will mention it sometime during my presentations, and I'll mention it on my YouTube videos, and I have it on my website. Like there's like a little.
I recommended it to like loads of people I know. I'm like, are you on Kimras? Are you in the Freedom Hackers group? And they're like, no.
Yeah,
I'm like, go.
It's become an amazing community. I really just appreciate all the wonderful people that have been attracted into that group because it has people that are all the way from newbies to people who are already making multiple six figures. And they're all helping each other out and giving each other feedback. And, it's really, to me, it's like its own living, breathing thing. I could stay out of that group for a whole day and just sit back and watch the amazing value people are giving to each other. And that was something I really wanted to facilitate. Like I really am a person who loves community. I love groups of people and crowds. And, I used to do concerts for a living. So, I like the crowds, big crowd, the bigger the crowd, the better, and I really believe in that sense of community. And when I put my intention for the Freedom Hackers, and I remember when I came up with the name, it took me forever to come up with a name. I was like, just thinking, I was like, okay, I want it to represent online and I want it to represent freedom. And so when I thought of the word like hackers, because, a lot of people talk about, like life hacks and things like that. And I was like, well, we're hacking our way to freedom, to abundance, to, and so that's when the name Freedom Hackers came about. And I was like, well, I need a definition of it. So, I had to come up with like what a freedom hacker is and all this stuff. And everyone's just like, that was just genius. And I said, but that's what I wanted to facilitate. I wanted it to be people who have integrity, who have respect, who really want to grow their businesses, who really genuinely want to help people, and that is what has came into that group. And I'm so proud to be the person to facilitate such an
Yeah.
environment. I
And it is
really, really
amazing.
am.
I mean, even things like the Friday mixer and stuff, people asking for what they need, people offering their service. So I found a graphic designer through Friday Mixer, which
Hmm.
has been really awesome. And I love watching the interactions there as well. They're so good. It's a great community. Congratulations.
Thank you. I love my Freedom Hackers community. I
They're
really,
very,
really, really do.
yeah, they're
And
very
I'm like,
good.
just wait, there's gonna be t-shirts and coffee mugs and everything Freedom
I love
Hackers.
it. I love
After
it.
this next launch, I'm
Yeah.
gonna hire
And then
someone
you'll
to
have
like
a conference. I'll have to fly from
I
Australia
do. I
somewhere in
want
the
to have a Freedom
States.
Hackers live. I do want to have a Freedom Hackers live. I think I might do one in like Vegas or something.
Yeah.
Maybe later this year, maybe not till next year. We'll
Yeah.
see. I mean,
You
I'm
got a
having a
lot on your
baby,
plate
you know.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm having a baby, so I kind of can't jump the gun too soon on some of those things, but
Yeah.
I definitely want to have a big live event. I
Yeah.
love live events. I
Same.
love hosting live events. I mean, I was an event planner, I booked concerts for a living, so it's like I understand that and I love the energy of it, and I really think that I could pull off something really awesome and
Yeah.
bring a bunch of great trainers and speakers together. I just know I can. So I
Yeah.
will. I will. I'll eventually get there. So hopefully the Freedom
Fantastic.
Hackers are on the edge of their seats right now, ready to go.
We're booking our tickets. Yeah,
Yes.
that's great. So I guess one of the main things I did want to talk to you about, which I mentioned as well, is that so January and the Connection Exchange is really about planning for the year, how to kind of set yourself up and understand what you're going to go for. I love the fact that you're like, I just focused on one thing at the start and made sure that that was what I kind of did and grew my audience, etc. So I know you've got some really big plans this year. How have you planned and what are you kind of going to do this year to make sure you reach those very lofty goals?
Yes, I do have a pretty big income goal this year. Bigger than most people. And actually, a few people have told me my goal needs to be much bigger. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought it was pretty big. Like, come on. But yeah, so for this year, especially because I am having my baby is due April 5th.
Yes.
So I have been doing a lot of prep for this because I know once the baby's born, I'm probably not going to be able to do a lot of live webinars anymore. I'll still do them, but not near as often because you cannot predict a baby. It can be kind of complicated. So that's why I decided to build a video set.
Yeah.
So I can create videos when it's like, okay, baby's taking a nap. Go put some makeup on real fast, sit in front of the camera, and make a video so that I can still keep giving that value to my audience.
Yeah.
So that was one big kind of change this year because the baby's coming and I know the live webinars aren't going to be, I'm not going to be doing them like every other week like
Yeah.
how I've been doing. Another thing too is I've been hiring people to help me. That's been a huge change for me because definitely am like, this is my business. It's like my baby. And I'm so used to doing everything myself.
Yeah.
And now I'm at the point where it's better for me to just delegate it out so I save time. And I mean, and even if it's like simple things, and it's like, oh, I just need to get this lead page up real fast. Like here's the copy, go put it up. And I can have a VA do that. Yeah, normally that only takes me like 20 or 30 minutes to do, but that still saves me 20 or 30 minutes of time,
Yeah.
because they know how to do it. So I have found, a few assistants who know how to do things that I normally use. So yeah, delegating has been huge for me.
And
Planning ahead with,
we were talking
huh?
earlier, about trust as well, because we were
Yeah,
saying it is hard
trust.
to kind of get somebody and just feel like you can hand it over and trust them as well.
Yes, that's been a big internal battle for me. And especially right now, I think because I'm pregnant, I'm so protective,
Yeah.
and I keep telling my husband, I'm like, I'm doing my best to not be so protective over my business, because I'm in baby mode. I'm already like nesting and wanting to like decorate the whole house and like like all these things, and he's just like, you have to remember they know what they're doing. they know what they're doing, you know? So just
Yeah.
let them do those little tasks so you can save time, so you have less stress.
Yeah.
So that's something, luckily I have my husband to talk some sense into me most times. So so
Yeah.
that's
And
that's
so, what
definitely
was your
good.
process of sort of teaching them? Did you just sit them down and go through how you do it? Like, if for somebody else who's looking to hire a VA or a graphic designer or something like that, what would be your kind of recommendation of how to make that shift?
Well, for one, use something like Basecamp to be able to keep everything that you want them to do, like checklist of what you want your virtual assistant to do
Yeah.
in there, and they can come in and check the things off when they complete them and that sort of stuff. That has helped me a lot. I did like screen recordings of some of the stuff I do. So, like my VA, I wanted her to do like duplicating some Facebook ads for me, which is a pretty easy task. It just takes time.
Yeah.
Usually I just post the ad and then I just need to duplicate the same thing because I split test like a maniac Facebook ads. I'm like Facebook split tester insane person over here, but I love split testing it because I know which things are working and
Yeah.
it gets me really inexpensive leads. So I wanted her to do that, so I just recorded the screen of me doing it. I saved it, put it inside of the Basecamp, so it's in there for her whenever she needs it. So whenever I say like, oh hey, I need you to go in there, duplicate the ads. The ad is called this. Go do all the duplicating, so it's all split tested and everything. And she could go in there, whip it out in 20 minutes, and it's done.
Awesome.
Same thing like with setting up like webinar registration pages, different lead pages, just tasks that I do quite often
Yeah.
that are kind of repetitive in my business. I've been delegating those things out to her. Another thing that I've been doing a lot of delegating is with my social media posts.
Yeah.
I've been getting them all onto Edgar, which I love. Edgar, meetedgar.com. I love it because it can rotate all of your content. And that's something I really like because, on Facebook, there's not as much of that organic reach.
Yeah.
So if it posts something of yours again, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be repurposing that stuff. And I think a lot of people, they feel like, oh, like I didn't write a blog post this week. It's like, so what? You got like 18 other blog posts. Like just post one of those ones, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think just learning to repurpose stuff that I've already done has been really, really big time saver for me.
Yeah.
I'm a really obsessed Evernote user. I use
Yes.
Evernote for everything. Like anything that's in my brain goes into Evernote. I kind of like to do a bit of like a brain dump almost like every single day. I just get in there. What are all my ideas for things? Also, I have attached my husband to Basecamp too. So anything that to delegate for him, because he's at home with me all day, but he doesn't do a ton of work in my business. But still, sometimes there's things that I need done. Like I need someone to run to my P.O. box, or I need someone to, like, oh my gosh, I need more water. I'm pregnant, lady. I need more water here. Like, give me some more water bottles. Or if I need to order something online or things like that, I'll be like, hey, go order this. Or if I need to call ClickBank because I need to make sure my address is right, or just simple little tasks that he can do. I put those on Basecamp for him, and he has the app on his phone.
Manage your husband.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. He's like a VA for me too. Not a full-time VA because he's mostly watching the kids when I'm doing work, but he's really helping with that. One thing we're actually doing this coming week is on Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm having my in-laws watch the kids so that me and my husband could just get our computers, sit next to each other, and just crank out a ton of stuff because I have a launch coming up.
Yeah.
So we want to get everything done that we can possibly get done, and then whatever we can't get done, then I can have my VA do other things.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna sit down, crank out the information, crank out the stuff. And I think it's different when you're laser focused. You can get so much done in a shorter amount of time. I mean, because some people are just like, oh my gosh, it took me all day to, post a Facebook ad. I said, yeah, that's because every 5 seconds you kept going on your Facebook newsfeed. Just do one task at a time. Another thing that's been huge for me too is not keeping a bunch of tabs open. I just exit them now. I'm just like, you know what? If I didn't want to read it then and there, it was not important enough. I just need to exit the page. And if it's something that's really important, I will save it on Evernote to read to my read later. I have like a read later, thing. But yeah, like I really am very very diligent about closing those tabs, and I like to keep even like my computer monitor, like the desktop, I like to keep it up clean. I have like a little box that's like for sort. I put all this, like any screenshots, anything on my page, I drag it all in there. And at the end of the week, I sort it out. Because sometimes they are important screen grabs. Like sometimes they're testimonials that people might have posted in my group or on my Facebook wall, things like that. So I do keep some of them, but I always make sure I have it in a sort folder. And then at the end of the week, I go in there, open it up, sort all the stuff out, and it works beautiful. I just try to keep it as empty as possible so that everything is always sorted and in the right place where it needs to be, because that way later down the line when I'm sorting stuff, because I do put a lot of stuff in Evernote, I can have my VA go in on Evernote and all the content already be there. You know what I mean? I do like to screen grab a lot of stuff like other people's Facebook ads, because I like getting ideas for ads all the time. I also email copy like from other people. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a really well written email. Like I'll save the copy so that I can get ideas for my own. And because writing isn't my strongest suit, so I find that that's the number one thing that usually I'm looking out for: really good copy, really good like kind of phrases or ways I can twist things into for my own brand. That's a lot of people, they kind of don't think of that. They sit down and then they're like, okay, I got to write an email, and then they sit there and it takes them an hour to write the email. And I don't get too fussy about that. Most of my emails I kind of just whip out in like 5 minutes. And most of the time I'm too lazy to even check for typos, because I'm just like, you know what? If there's a typo in there, I'm a human being. They know me. My audience knows me. They know I'm not like the person that's gonna have perfect, no typos ever type of thing. So for me, I think, a lot of it is, just don't stress about so many things when it comes to content creation, and get things on automation is been probably the biggest things for me, because I need a lot of stuff on automation, because once the baby is born, I'm gonna be taking like weeks off. I'm not gonna be on Facebook, in my group as much, and things like that. So I definitely have to delegate a lot. But yeah, it's fun though. I like it. I'm getting used to it. I'm still getting used to it. But for me, it's definitely been saving me a lot of time.
Remember to book your ticket to the Epic Business Planning Summit on Wednesday, the 4th of March 2015 at Circa on the Deck in St Kilda, Melbourne. This is going to be an epic day for female entrepreneurs to really plan for 2015. Following the Epic Summit, we also have an evening event where Lisa will be talking about her 3 books, Daring and Disruptive Playbook, as well as her still to be released, Life and Love. Come along, have a glass of champagne, something to eat, and network with other passionate and inspiring women. Get your ticket today at theconnectionexchange.com.